meeting. Poised as it is at the center of European crisis and promise, it is a metaphor for the transformation of the planet and of human psychology that must take place if we are to provide a sane future for our children. I'm standing in the center of one of Central Europe's most beautiful and mysterious cities. This is Prague, Czechoslovakia, and I'm Terence McKenna. We're here to meet with some of the world's most outstanding thinkers to discuss science, spirituality, and the mounting global crisis. And it's fitting that we should meet in this, the capital of ancient Bohemia, for Prague and Bohemia have always stood for intellectual innovation, chance-taking, and the life of ideas. In the Jugendstil splendor of one of Prague's most famous concert halls, we encountered Richard Alpert and persuaded him to have lunch with us. Alpert, who now calls himself Ram Das, is one of the most enduring figures from the American cultural upheaval of the 1960s. Alpert, whose career reaches from Harvard University to the plains of the Punjab, has transformed himself into a spokesman for humanity's ignored and downtrodden. And Ralph Ingraham was sitting across the table watching me have this conversation, and when after Steiger left, Ralph leaned over to me and he said, "So you see, Terence, the mushroom is telling you that it can reach out and touch you anywhere." And I thought, that's amazing.
Well, anytime you would like to or feel you have the time to guide me through anything at all, I'd be happy to be your...
Excuse me, sir. You are not the famous Terence Mushroom McKenna. That is you, my friend.
It is.
That's him.
It is.
Oh, how wonderful. Yes, pleased to welcome you on our Bohemian highway. I especially bring you a very good black coffee and espresso. And if you may tell me, who is the attractive elderly gentleman you brought on your side in the companionship here?
This is Mr. Dawes.
Oh, the MS Dawes, yes.
No, the Ram does.
Oh, the CD-ROM.
The CD-ROM, yes.
The LSD
does. Yes, the one, yes.
Wonderful. Take this, will be.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Very Bohemian. And this...
I am so happy to be in your fair country.
Oh, my country, very fair, and happy to have the LSD experience. You know,
What is your name? What is your name?
My name is Waiter.
Waiter. Pleasure.
Yes, see you later. Okay.
See you later.
You don't think there's any... It would need the external form of the mushroom.
It would never have happened for me. I only argue from my own experience.
Yeah, but you and I were both so thick in crap when it had, that's why we needed it.
Well, but there are a few others out there. We didn't corner the market on being thick in crap.
Yeah. But I'm talking about somebody like a Ramana Maharshi or somebody like that.
Oh, well, these people.
I mean, there are people.
Sure. But the idea is not to come up with something that the best among us can make hay with, but a democratic, something which addresses the species. The thing that seemed to me so important about the psychedelic experience was that it happened to me. I wasn't reading John Chrysostom or Meister Eckhart.
Exactly.
Of course, those guys.
Right on. It happened to me. It happened to me. Yes.
And so I assume that I am a very ordinary person. Therefore, if it happened to me, it could happen to anyone, and that's really
questionable. There's a set of assumptions there. One, that you're a very ordinary person, and whether the same chemical given to a dozen people would bring about 11 other people like
similar
this, and I think it would be the outcome would be very different. And that's it. I keep getting cast into an evolution of consciousness model about individuals because there's such marked individual differences as to 3 people come before my guru, one completely goes, and the other 2 get a chapati. And people take psilocybin, and some go like that, and they go like that, and some go like that, and they go like that.
Well, don't you think a good metaphor for it would be sexuality? Apparently there are some people who can kind of take it or leave it, and others of us, it rears its ugly head with great presence. Yet everybody has to
I notice as I get older, I move from one of these categories to the other. It leaves so much space in my life. I don't know what to do with my free time.
I hope it never happens to me.
Just clinging. Just clinging.
No, just aspiring to cling. Actually, I live the life of an ascetic. It's my aspirations that are pulling me down. Well, see, the nice thing about this evolutionary argument is that you can sort of make the snake take its tail in its mouth.
Exactly.
Because
it does.
The escape is not into some science fiction future.
No.
It's into an archaic recursion of some sort. We once knew everything we need to know.
Yeah.
So what we are trying to find out is lost knowledge, not new knowledge. And if you direct people back toward 10,000, 20,000 years ago, they see a kind of completion that an open-ended future is.
Seems to me it's a confusing thing to use time in that way because it makes the artifacts of that period seem to be valued as opposed to the artifacts of this period. And it seems to me that I mean, whether you call it not science fiction, but science fiction can also be very compassionate. It can be very historically relevant. It doesn't have to be. It's just using a different set of artifacts to work with. So,
well, for instance, I see most of what's happened in the 20th century as being unconsciously driven by this fascination with the archaic.
Fascination with the archaic.
Yes, I mean,
wow, that was of all the things I predicted you'd say, it wasn't that. Tell me what.
Well, for instance, Impressionism deconstructs the hard image of realism and gives you a feeling tone thing, which was very antithetical to Victorian Edwardian thought. Then Freud and Jung describe different aspects of the unconscious, but to do it, Freud has to talk about repressed, primitive sexual imaginings. Jung talks about folklore, fairy tales, and mythology. Meanwhile, the Dadaists and the Surrealists are saying we have to break up the linear expectations of the bourgeois mind. And then you get at Jackson Pollock and those people who say the image itself has to be thrown out. And then, to my mind, the psychedelic thing in the 60s, based on rock and roll and a boundary-dissolving psychedelic, we, almost by a random walk, are finding our way toward shamanism, tribalism, nomadism.
Go beyond the isms to find it. Tell me what we're really finding.
We're finding a world made out of mind rather than stuff.
Okay, we're finding a world made out of mind. Every time you describe which mind you find, that's just a limiting condition. I mean, if we just find the thing of mind-created stuff, live in that, then what happens?
Well, I mean, there is a transcendental dimension beyond language. It's just hard as hell to talk about it.
But if you live in it and talk from there, then the forms that it will manifest in become just the forms of manifesting. It's nothing more or less than that.
So you mean you download the unspeakable into language and let the words fall where they may?
Well, they don't fall where they may. They fall in a perfectly harmonious pattern.
Well, that's them falling where they may.
Where they may, where they will.
Yeah. Well, so what I'm hearing from you is you have a very strong sense of the pattern, strong enough that your necessarily limited personal viewpoint doesn't tend to get in the way. You can always push the reset to hope button, and then you hope, almost on principle.
Frank has said to me, stand halfway between hope and hopelessness. I thought that was very useful.
And is that...
No.
What is it? It's awe.
It's the ecstasy of total horror and total beauty at the same moment. That's what I feel again and again. That's when I'm with somebody dying of AIDS. My God, my heart's breaking. It's horrible. It's a ghastly social ostracization, this, that, opportunistic illness and everything. And there's another part of me that's giggling. And I can hardly handle the multi-phrenia of it all, the sense of the perfection of it all, and the beauty of the moment, and the horrible shit of it.
Well, it all is spun together. Is that because you feel confident that the self is somehow indestructible, or because you don't even ask that question?
You got to watch the words indestructible, because that has a time dimension. I mean, I think that awareness is that,
for example, do you think this is the stage upon which all acts are performed, or that we move up and down
stages,
many levels?
Probably infinite number. Because I just look into two minds and I see two different ones. And those are all on just this one. No, I feel like I have this friend Emmanuel, this spook that has no body. And Emmanuel's two lines to me were, death is absolutely safe, first thing. That's a very profound statement. And the next thing he said, it was like taking off a tight shoe. And then I said to him, Emmanuel, what am I doing here? Who made this error? What am I doing on this plane? He said, you're in school, why don't you try taking the curriculum?
And the curriculum is?
Life.
Any life?
It means the exploration of the clinging of mind within the world of projected form.
So the exploring life.
It's the exploring life with it's purposive in the sense of returning back into the Garden of Eden. It's a return. There is a return metaphor underlying all of it.
And I'm sure you're asked this all the time, so am I. Maybe we give different answers. Do you think that this can be done without psychedelics fast enough to have an impact on the global situation?
I can conceive that it could be. You ask who I think. I don't really have an opinion whether it will or won't, but I could see it go either way. Well, like John C. said to me, it's too late as far as the rainforest is concerned. He said the inertia is too great in the whole system. It's too late. So I said, okay, John. I mean, it was the first time somebody said it to me just like that. He said, it would take a miracle. I said, that threw me back on whatever that was. And then he said, but after all, he said, we came up out of the ocean, we came onto land. He said, we had fun along with these miracles. I don't underestimate it. That was a nice moment.
Well, so my question to you is, are psychedelics a miracle?
Psychedelics are a miracle, yes. They may not be the only miracle.
Are they the miracle?
I don't know that. I think they may have already done what they were to do.
Really?
Yeah. I think what is done is so much more powerful than anybody yet recognizes. See, I see that all this destruction is just the process of transformation. The question is whether we keep it together in the process of transformation. And that's why all I'm interested in doing is becoming a person and helping others become a person who, in the process of the dramatic stuff, will keep some equanimity and keep some love and some presence in that process. But that's psychedelics may play a role in that. So you're right. That goes back to your question.
Well, see, my assumption in trying to think about thousands of psychedelic trips rather than just mine, what they seem to do generically is they seem to dissolve boundaries.
Yes.
And the ego is in the business of creating, maintaining, and defending boundaries. So I really see the psychedelics as directly intervening in the core process which is running us over the edge, which is our inability to emotionally connect with the consequences of what we're doing. If for a single moment we could feel what we're doing, we would stop.
I understand.
But we do.
It's interesting because you take images that all of us know of the girl running down the street naked in Cambodia, you know, or something like that. And we say that wasn't strong enough. It all, you know, it won the Life of the Year award, but it wasn't strong enough. It didn't stop everybody and say, holy shit, what are we doing here? So what would be strong enough to do that? And you say, well, psychedelics, but that's, you know, it's in a one-on-one thing. I mean, we're talking major game players at this moment. Put China into your computer. You know, how do you deal with, you know, I mean, either you're spraying it or it's water or it's some other level of consciousness that does it. There is a certain level of trauma that's possible that can soften the ground. Right? Not 3 Mile Island and not Chernobyl, but I mean, I don't want to create this with my mind, but I can imagine a certain trauma, like in Marin when they ran out of water. It was interesting. Suddenly all the ego barriers and everything, and neighbors were talking who'd never even met each other.
People were taking showers.
A whole process was happening. I'm sure marriages, babies were conceived, everything as a result of that trauma, of that denial. So a massive, significant trauma. I just got to tell you one scary image. There's a saint in India who lived up to about 1930, I think so. And one of his devotees said to me, one night he was sort of looking off in the distance, he said, there'll come a time, he said, when you'll walk 5 miles, and he said, you'll sight the light from a fire of another person, and you'll be so happy to know another person exists.
Quite a prediction.
Isn't that quite a prediction? It's in there. It's just in there somewhere. You know?
Interesting. Yes, well, I agree. I think that what's going to happen is that...
Gentlemen, everything is fine with the evolution of coffee and consciousness. Both very good with you.
You have come just at the right time.
Yes,
this is just what I want. How did you know? You tuned into a higher level.
A higher level. High, very high, yes. I eat Bohemian mushroom soup today.
We were just talking about that.
Oh, yes. You like Bohemian mushroom soup?
I like mushroom.
Let me sprinkle liberally some water on your chalice, sir.
Oh, please liberally sprinkle his chalice.
Yes.
For sure.
I am a cellist, so it's fine if you wish to.
Oh, I know you by your true name. You're Mr. Chalice, sir. Yes. Very good. You also some water in your... No. I was confused. Let me put this here. And have fun with the shaman strudel. Bohemian, very good.
Thank you very much.
Call when things are getting dangerous.
I'll call you.
I'll be right back.
Not to worry.
Good.